Hello, hello, hello. Have I got something that's gonna blow y'all's mind? Yeah, 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 yeah. I know I've been coming on earlier than normal, but I just got off right now actually, a little about 2 hours early because I went in really, really early. I just loaded the fire chat from last night. So sorry guys, I've been swamped. But anyway, wanted to come on and talk about something real quick because you know me, I've been utilizing some of the guys at work, right? These older gentlemen that seem to be really bright, really smart. So we were listening to some things today, and because I had heard it yesterday, and I was like, man, I want to make sure I'm hearing things before I say anything. Y'all know me. So I played it, right? We put it on the speaker, on the computer, big speaker, and sat back, closed our eyes, and listened. It's the Smiley's World interview with Chris Profit, Katie Profit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of y'all probably heard it, but a lot of y'all probably didn't catch this. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. But anyway, I had saw somebody put something in the comment about it, I think yesterday, and I think it was Wild Wolf. Shout out to you. But I just didn't want to say it yet. I was working on trying to make sure I had the CPS stuff right and the flower bed stuff right before I put this out, because I wanted to get two other opinions, make sure that what I was hearing, I was really hearing, because I couldn't believe this slipped like that. But we always known that they slipped a lot, right, in the very beginning. But I want to say this, and I don't know, man. I'm so excited to even tell y'all this right now. I think this is, and you know, the fun thing is I think that law enforcement's already probably had this or known about this, or maybe they just have people watching over again to try to grab this information, right, so they can get it. But clearly, I don't know. I won't be around the bush anymore. Let's just get to the point. Anyway, allegedly, these are my opinions, my thoughts, my theories, my speculation, my free speech, not to reflect the channel. Y'all's comments, y'all's alone, not to reflect the channel. Do your research, people. I do my research. We do our research together because we're a big heart, little family. Trigger warnings, always. But you know, one thing that's coming, I feel, again, I'm back in that mode again now that I'm finding these things out, but justice for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Missing 15-year-old out of Hendersonville, Tennessee. He's now 16 from December 7th, 2024, but he was last seen leaving the Texas Roadhouse with his mother, Katie Lynn Payne Proudfoot, on around 6:25 p.m. on February the 25th. Okay, guys. Trigger warnings all over the place. And remember, this is just my big alleged bubble, okay? But what I do want to say right now, I can't even sit down. I need to sit down. Hold on, let me find somewhere to sit down. I hadn't even made it to the house yet. Let me find somewhere to sit. I'm just gonna sit right over here on the damn ground. I don't care. Anyway, ooh, y'all hear the birds? Oh my God, I gotta sit down for this one. But anyway, let me tell y'all this, because it's gonna freak y'all out just like it freaked me out. And some of y'all might already know it. And it might not be the biggest thing in the world, but to me, it's just like the door lock's huge. But this is even more huge. But when I was listening to some of these things about him talking about CPS stuff, because he's like, well, I got nothing to hide. You know, Christopher Proudfoot, I got nothing to hide. You know, his mic did get cut off a couple times during that. And so I thought maybe Katie was like, covering it up so he would shut up, right? I think they cover each other is what they do. That's why they're constantly really focusing on what the other's saying, and to kind of help them, to distract them in case they go to slip. But he clearly slipped. When he talked about, you know, how Nancy Grace, he said it was one time only, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, then he clearly states the teacher, you know, Sebastian, had forgot his belt when they were going somewhere. And he asked him where his belt was, and he said, I don't know, or something like that. So whack, right? He whacked him with the belt. Anyway, she said he went to school, told teacher has to reported it. And then he's like, you know, it has to be mandatory, so he reported it. So basically what he kind of said, after he said at school, the teacher reported because they had to, then he clearly talked over himself again right after that and said, like basically said he reported, like Sebastian reported it. So I'm assuming he was probably doing it from his own phone. But anyway, hearsay, she say. They were sitting down to have dinner, and the same lady that had been there before had showed up. And evidently she was super nice and told him, hey, let me tell you, I know what's going on. He had merged 3 stories into one. The 15-year-old was mad because he got punished with a belt. Okay, so at 15, we know it had been within the last 45 days before he went missing. Most likely, that's when it was, somewhere around after Chris, probably right after Faith left for the Christmas break and Sebastian came back home. That's what I'm assuming, because it wouldn't have been the Christmas break because Sebastian was with Seth. So we know it didn't happen in that window. It happened probably around New Year's, give or take, right after New Year's, give or take. Sometime after that, I think. Anyway, needless to say, it had to be when school was going on. So that's why I think it's after New Year's. Anyway, that's not what I'm getting to. But he kind of choked himself up there because he let us know that it was 3 times. And he said they all merged into one, and he kept stumbling over his own words. But finally, he just basically admitted that there was 3 calls, 3 cases into one, but called Sebastian a liar. Okay, for one, Sebastian wasn't lying. You clearly admitted you whacked him with a belt, so how would he be making up a story? You hit him. So don't call him a liar. That pisses me off. You're going to call Sebastian a liar. You know, when autistic kids are probably the number one for telling the truth, unlike you, Mr. Proudfoot. Right? Abusive, compulsive. Don't even get me started. I'll say something, I'd lose my channel. Anyway, that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is when they were talking about the front door, which to me is about the locks. I assume that now we know that there's a possibility that there's 2 doors this child could have went out, right? Remember, he said 2 possible doors, but Sebastian only used the front door. That came from Katie's voice and his voice. But I got the note. I wrote it down too because I wanted to not forget. All right, Chris' own words. All right. Okay. One thing he said before I get to that, I want to disclose this right here, because he said if someone would have punched in the lock, like the keypad, right? If someone would have came up to the door to get Sebastian out of the home, why they presumed he walked out. Now they changed a little bit, but he said if someone would have came up to punch in the code, a shadowy figure would have been seen from the neighbor's camera across the street. Okay. So you're telling me that if somebody dressed in all black came up to that front door and punched that code in, that they would have been seen. He says they would have been seen on camera no matter what. A shadow at least would have been seen by the front door. Okay, so that means he didn't walk out that door, because he'd have damn sure been seen if he'd have walked out the door, stepped off the front porch and vanished. Okay, so right there, you busted yourself again. Right? Not only with CPS, but now you busted yourself with the front door, which I'd always said. Katie had that door locked. He wasn't getting out that front door. He wasn't getting out any of those doors, in my opinion. Allegedly my opinion, right? I'm entitled to my damn opinion. So basically that kind of clears up someone coming in and getting him from the front door, or even Sebastian going out the front door. I don't think he realized by him saying that, is it clearly lets us know that no matter what, he didn't go out the front door, or the shadowy figure would have been seen. And the cops had that footage, so they would have saw this child leaving the front door. Okay, that's why police say no evidence or proof that this child walked out of that home. All right, now we know we have to believe what law enforcement says. So this does make me a little more hopeful that the arrests are coming soon. All right, then I got this one. The CPS, of course, we know now it's 3, according to his own words, right? But that's not what I want to get to. What I want to get to is 2 things. All right. The 2 doors possible. Front door, code. We know he didn't go out the front door. Or he just told us he would have been seen. At least a shadowy figure of him walking out of that front door would have been seen. Because they went over this with law enforcement, Katie said. 100%. So that's her words on Smiley World. Go check it out yourself. She said we went over it with Ellie over and over, and the only thing we could come up with was that he could have used the front door. But you're sitting there contradicting. Chris is contradicting what Katie's saying, because he just said if somebody came to that front door to open that code to get in that and get that boy out, it would have been caught on camera, a shadow. Okay, so that answers our question. He didn't go out the front door. We know he didn't go out the back door because he didn't have a key. All right. One other door that leaves. Okay, well, we know that door was too loud, but we'll get to that in a second. What about the windows? If he'd have went out the windows, he would have stepped in mulch, it would have hurt his feet barefooted, and he would have been heard, okay, or seen. He'd have been seen on camera, sorry. Okay, now, clearly what I'm about to say is going to blow, it blew my mind. And some of y'all might already know about this, but when he says about the door, the second door that could have possibly been used, right? When he says about that door, what does he say? He says, clearly, if he would have went out that loud door, right? The door that makes a whole lot of ruckus and everybody has one door like that in their home probably where it's really loud no matter what, even if it's a brand new door. It's just loud. And so the second door, which I'm guessing would be the garage, going out that way, on the driveway where the lights were, which we know the cameras would have seen him there too. If he'd have went out that second door, according to Christopher Proudfoot's own words out of his own mouth, he almost slipped up right before this, but then did slip up on this one. He says about the door being so noisy when you opened it. He said, clearly, we would have heard it open. We. Y'all get that? We would have heard it. And then he kind of tries to fumble over his own words, but it's too late. He already did it, right? He clearly stated, we would have heard it open. We would have. We. That means him and KT. Okay. Now we know, like I said, these older interviews, a lot of them have truth to them. Now we know he was home. That's why they've never confirmed his alibi. Now, I know he was there that morning because he was at that crane, but that's okay because they would have heard him. So, maybe all in all, you know what I'm wondering now about this car video, guys, that's going to blow y'all's mind? Because with this now that I've actually heard it out of his mouth, him saying we, which means he was home, you know what I'm thinking this vehicle is now? And I know I came to bounce around a little bit, guys, but just hear me out. I think now, knowing that I'm able to vet that he is pretty much said out, he said it out of his own mouth, he was home. He said we would have heard that door open and to him to go out that door. Okay. Now, you know what I'm wondering? Remember that car that was seen as somebody that frequently visits the neighborhood, right? Who would frequently, every now and then, once a week, whatever, who would come to that neighborhood? A car. What about Kathy Bowersox or Terry Bowersox? Okay, well, let's see. Think about it this way, guys. Do you think by chance that was Chris Proudfoot leaving that home to head back to Memphis? I don't know why I haven't thought of this. I really do not know why I have not thought about this. That would be perfect timing for him to have been back in time to be in the crane. 2:58 a.m. He would have been there right when he got in the crane. He would have just been dropped off at the camper, jumped in his truck, and left. Wow. This is a big banger right now to me. I'm wondering. I'm really wondering now. And they could have played that off. Because, it looked like Katie ran back to the house, right? Like came out, right? Okay, did Chris come out of that home? Or was Chris out there waiting for the car? And then Katie came out because she forgot something? Or was she taking Sebastian out of that home knowing that somebody was taking Chris, like Kathy or probably would have been Terry. Or it could have been somebody Chris hired. We never know. Could have been somebody in his family, his sister, could have been anyone. I still think it would have been Terry, most likely Bowersox. Allegedly, in my opinion, I believe it would have been Terry. But I never thought about this. Why has nobody thought about this? Clearly, why have we not thought about this? God dang it, it's been right under our nose the whole time. But see, I never heard him say we. Like putting himself at that home that night. Okay, yeah, he was there, but he was gone by 3. And that car that left was Christopher Proudfoot, I believe. And so, yeah, it is possible now that he was already at that home Maybe Katie thought he was going to get dropped off at the restaurant. Maybe the Bowersox were going to drop Chris off at the roadhouse. Okay, this would go back to my theory of the scratch marks and bite marks, guys. Just hear me out real quick. If he, okay, her and Sebastian left, right? Was she waiting for somebody to signal her that Terry was back with Chris from the campsite? His truck was left there, right? And his phone was left there, and Kathy was left there, okay? I remember I thought about this in the beginning, that one of them was at that camper. Okay, now hear me out. Kathy Bowersox, I believe now, or one of his other family members was at the camper, at the campsite with Chris's cell phone, okay? Now, we know that they got on a phone call at 9:43, right, p.m. Is that the time that Chris got there? Did somebody bring, did Terry come up there and stay and Chris drive Terry's car back? And then Chris come back at 9:43? Did he get there by 9:43, or did he get there right around the time they were leaving the roadhouse? And then she pull over and grab him somewhere on the road right there, right? Because if you were to grab somebody from behind the seat, right? If you got in the back seat because Sebastian was in the front seat and you put your arm around someone, they can bite you right there on that part of your arm and scratch you. So did he attack this child in that car after he ate? And then everything else was just time to cover it up. Was that Christopher Proudfoot that took out the trash? Dressed all in black. Black sweatpants, black sweatshirt, making it look like Sebastian. Was it? Man, I'm totally twisted now on now I'm believing in something. I think somehow Christopher had somebody at the camper with his cell phone to give him his alibi. Now, I believe Chris was in Memphis. And so say that Kathy and Terry would have drove up there to get Chris from the camper. Okay, that evening, or that day, that morning. We don't know where they were that day. Say they drove up there to get Christopher that day out of his camper and bring him back to execute their plan. So they go up there, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They drive up there, or just say that morning. They get up Sunday morning, they drive up to the campsite. They rest for a little bit. Kathy stays there with Chris's phone and Chris's truck. Terry and Chris come back to Memphis. Okay, say they get back afternoon or sometime. So Chris hangs out there, or Chris gets dropped off somewhere around the home area, which I think would have to be after dark if he'd have been seen, but I think maybe he just stayed with Terry at Terry's house until they got done eating. Then somehow after it got dark, either she picked him up on that roadway after she left the roadhouse, right? She picked up Chris, he got in the car there. Whatever happened in the vehicle or happened right when they got home. And then they had all that time to cover it up. And then all they would have to do was, Terry would have just had to come about 3 in the morning, right? Because Chris could have used Katie's phone, called his mom, and just talked to her for a little bit while she was sitting in the camper with Chris's phone. And Chris's truck was there at the camper maybe. And then Chris was here with Terry. And then Chris got in the car with Katie out to Roadhouse. Then he was at that house till around 2:58 a.m. Okay, then they had to get the boy out of the house. Okay, so Terry pulls up down the road, right? And then Chris and Katie go out. Chris goes first to get on the corner to be the lookout. Then Katie comes carrying Sebastian out of the home to Chris. Terry's sitting in the car. Then Chris grabs Sebastian from Katie. Katie runs back to the house to start cleaning up. And then Chris gets in the car with Terry, and they drive all the way to Memphis, right? 3 in the morning. They get him there by what time? That time? 6 o'clock? Well, that wouldn't work with Kathy. So it couldn't have been Kathy. Okay, we have to eliminate Kathy with being at the camper. Now, Kathy could have been in Memphis, and it could have been the sister or somehow other way. But we got to kind of eliminate Kathy because she was there that morning. But she was sitting at that store. So, yeah, I don't know. It's wishy-washy. But y'all get what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking now more along the lines of that vehicle that supposedly frequently sees the neighborhood must have been Terry picking up Chris, or somehow, some way, I believe it was Terry. Somebody was at that camper with Chris's phone to make that call at 9:43 p.m. and talked till almost midnight while Chris was at that house all along, doing whatever they needed to do, and then getting everything cleaned up, getting everything done. And then Terry picked him up, or maybe Terry was at the camper, Kathy was at home, so she didn't have to get involved, and it was the cousin that came in his car, which they said it was a Nissan, they thought, or whatever, right? So say that was his cousin that picked him up right there with Sebastian and drove him up to Memphis, right? Then boom, he drove Terry back to Memphis, that was sitting at the camper. And then Chris just stayed there, left Sebastian in that camper, went to work, got kicked out of work at 10:30, stashed him somewhere for a quick being, came back, rushed into town. Oh yeah, he's missing, whatever. Then I gotta go get my camper. Turns around, goes back, gone 17 hours, plenty of time to hide the body. Then comes back after that, all said and done, hands are washed, everything's over with. Nobody could figure it out. Because I think the law enforcement thought that car was either a dummy car like I thought it was, or it plays a big role, and that's why they haven't debunked it. So, now, what do y'all think? And the only reason I changed my story is because now I've heard him say out of his own dang mouth that he was home. Because he said if he'd have stepped out of the one window, he would have stepped in the mulch and he would have been seen on camera. Then if you notice, when he says we, he freaks out and then he starts laughing and saying he'd have been caught on camera, like he tries to pull his attention away from what he just said. But he clearly stated we. So shout out to Solly's World for filming that and asking those questions, and a little tricky that the way she did. She tried to do it good, but she was tricky and she did get it out of him. So at least now it's been under our nose the whole time. And now we know, okay, let's figure out, we're going to talk about this tonight and break it down thoroughly, because I'm just throwing this out there because I just now finished watching it, got back to town, and was like, I got to get this out, right? Because we got to figure this out. It's going to give y'all time to think about it before tonight. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. If y'all think I'm just completely like don't know what I'm talking about, or if it makes any kind of sense at all. Now I understand him saying we, that's his words. Yes, I take that as fact. He said that. Katie said front door, which we know now. I don't believe Sebastian ever walked out of that home. And now that it makes it more clear, Chris made it a little bit more crystal clear for me that by saying if someone would have came to that front door to put in the code, the shadowy figure would have been seen on camera no matter what. That's his words. 100%. Okay, well that means that nobody can go out the door either. They're going to be seeing a shadowy figure too. Sebastian would have been seen. Okay, so he didn't go out the front door. He didn't go out the back door. He dang sure didn't go out the windows and step in the flower beds. He didn't go out the loud door because Chris said it would have woke him and Katie up. So, were they taking a nap because he knew the car was coming at 3 to pick him up and they had to get out of there? And he had to get back to the camper? Yeah, I believe so now. So, maybe that car is a family member after all. I don't know, guys. We'll talk about it later. Just remember, I got to protect myself with the big alleged bubble. And y'all protect yourself with y'all's comments and y'all's alone, right? Oh, helicopter. And we do our research together because we're a big-hearted family. Trigger warnings always. But justice for Sebastian Rogers. I'm starting to break down these little things now, and I'm really on a mission. So we'll see what we can figure out. But we're definitely going to talk about it tonight. So y'all guys be good, be safe. We love y'all guys. We'll talk on the next one. Justice for Sebastian Rogers. I'm so glad that they slipped so many times. I hope they keep slipping. I think they flipped enough now to make arrests. I really do. I'm a little bit more feeling better today now, especially when I heard him say we, and then one of the guys that was sitting next to me, one of the guys I work with, he's one of our engineers, he looks at me with these big old eyes. He's like, hold on, pause that. I'm like, what? Did you hear that? I'm like, yeah, he just said we, right? He said, I didn't think he said we, but yeah, I think he said we. So we've listened to it like 6 times to make sure it was right. But he clearly said we. Wow, oh wow. And then said the door was too loud, it would have woke him up. Oh my gosh, man, you gave us all the answers. Thank you, Mr. Proudfoot, for being truthful for once. Amen, hallelujah. All right, guys, we'll talk to y'all tonight. We love y'all, guys. All right, bye.